Rob, you spent so long away from Adams Park. You're certainly making up for lost time. A nice series of visits for you. How impressed are you with the progress that you see each visit here ahead of the return of fans to Adams Park?
I'm wildly excited. The technology that we're bringing to bear here, which will make Adams Park, the stadium at Adams Park, virtually a new stadium. I don't think people understand it. I get giddy about it, to be honest. And to watch it and to watch the big cranes operating and putting these massive pieces of internet connectivity into place, to meet with Will and talk about how the fetch system will work and bring the food in, to deal with Neil and talk about how much easier it's going to be for our customers to come into the games. The fact that we're not going to allow any cash in, mix sanitary and well, and we'll be the top stadium in the UK.
The return of fans is coming around very soon. We hope that all restrictions will be lifted. We have the date for the fixtures coming out in just a couple of weeks, the start of the new season. What a difference would it make compared to last season to see this place rocking and to have an atmosphere getting behind the team?
I forget, one of the players, it may have been Matt, talked about the whole reason for us having this is for the fans. And that's true. We cannot operate without fans, even though we did a great job last year on television, on iFollow, on the like. But there's a special chemistry between players and fans at these stadiums, whether it's home or away, that makes it a game entirely different. Otherwise, you're essentially just watching a practice, and that's no fun.
The club has sold just over 2,000 season tickets so far. It's a solid start. I know you and your ambitions that solid doesn't quite cut the mustard. Wouldn't it be great, I suppose, to see the club break records coming out of the pandemic and welcoming fans back to Adams Park?
We're going to break records in terms of season tickets. I'm absolutely convinced. The only reason we haven't sort of turned the engine on to push the sale of season tickets harder is because we're still cognizant that the government could play games, for lack of a better word, of how many people we can have in our stadium. One of the beauties of our new ticketing system is that we will be able to adapt instantaneously. Ben Griffith has done a great job working with them so that if the government says it's a 1 meter difference, we're ready. If it says you can have clusters of 8 people, we're ready. If it says you can have a cluster of 23 people, we're good to go. So I think come the 22nd or thereabouts of June, when we have a better understanding of it, we can go into our next drive on selling season tickets. I would say this, you're going to want to have a season ticket as soon as you can, because there are going to be certain things that take place even before the start of the season that will be only available for season ticket holders, and they certainly will want to be in.
Let's touch on matters on the pitch. I see you've let Gareth take a week off to go back to Blackburn and see his family, but I imagine knowing Gareth and knowing you, it won't be entirely a week off, will it?
Well, if you exclude, and we had to watch out for Donna, and Missy told me to leave them alone on their vacation, so what's today? Friday, we've only talked 4 times. Look, the reason I think Gareth and I get along, Pete and I and Andrew, is we're a solid team. We spent yesterday afternoon reviewing a bunch of different players and what is possible. I think people will be very pleased. To be honest, the team we have in place, barring injury, could compete in the championship and do very, very well. With the people that we will be bringing in, that will only increase. So, and we have our eyes, and look, we're not throwing money wildly around. That's not our way. But we have a dedicated budget. We know what we can do, and we're going to be highly competitive in the championship should we be there.
Just touching briefly on a couple of farewells that we said this summer, and one being Darius Charles, that you awarded a chairman's choice, the first of its kind, an award to Darius. for his services before he left, before his playing career ended,
Right.
I suppose, with us in the summer. And also Ryan Allsop and Alex and Fred, who were part of that team that got us promoted at Wembley. I know we do look to the future, but these guys played a part in a real special time for the club.
They really did. And look, we'll always be grateful. By coincidence, I called Darius yesterday. He and I are not close friends by any stretch of imagination. But I wanted to spend a little time with him yesterday to make sure he's got his plans together, and he does, moving forward, that he knows that we will always be supportive of him and whatever he chooses to do. I think our relationship will continue to grow, and I think his relationship with the club will. Ryan Allsop is fantastic. He deserves as much credit. And look, go back to Darius. We're not in the championship without Darius. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Same can be said for Ryan. He was a stand-up. He carried this team on his shoulders in several games. He was a leader, and he was good. The tough part of sport is that there are only a limited number of spots out there. He had the misfortune of getting a little knock. Stockdale came in and played extraordinarily well. We were able to put a good contract for us and for David in front of him. He wanted to sign that. I think Ryan has aspirations and reasonable aspirations of continuing to play in the championship, and our status is probably not as solid as 22 other teams. So he wanted to look at that, and good for him.
When the players do return for the pre-season, I think they'll be taken aback by some changes at the training ground as well, and obviously an important part of all the preparation that goes into a match day on the playing side.
Yeah, look, we're doing so much work around here. We had to take our chief commercial officer, Neil Peters, and have him in charge of all of our build-outs, plus maintaining a role in our commercial effort. For those who have this interest, the entire training facility is getting a facelift, top to bottom. We started it with our medical to make sure that we have the best available spots to take care of our players. We've expanded it, probably doubled the size, made it much fresher, brought in new equipment and the like. We've expanded the dressing rooms or training rooms, or what do you guys call them? Change out rooms or whatever,
yeah.
Changing rooms. But there will be a separate brand new changing room for the first team and showers for them and the like. That's important because this developmental squad is coming along so well. Pete and Gareth are pushing hard to make sure we have enough players, and Sam Grace, obviously, to make it a reasonable thing. We expect to double the size of our developmental squad this year. We needed a place to house them. They'll have their own separate changing room. So it'll be a progression from that room to the next. We're bringing in a new facility just for the kits. We're bringing in another facility just for the boots to, again, give everybody the space they need. We've substantially increased the size of our coaching staff and analyst staff, so we've had to redo that spot up top. Neil is working on, and with Gareth, and is working on a new meeting room, media room out there. So, and of course, we stripped the fields, which they had not been done in a long time. We have the big scaffolding that they can watch from. With little pedestrian things like we actually will have a place where the players can park. We'll have gated entrances. All of this, though, Matt, is done with the expectation that for the player that we're in effect recruiting to come play for us, that they will see that when they come to Wycombe, they're getting first-class treatment. From the time they arrive, when they come into the new stadium or their situation in the stadium, it will be vastly improved because we're in a competitive business. We have the best coaching staff. We have a phenomenal stadium here, albeit smaller in capacity, but it competes with anybody. I want these players to know then when they come here, they're going to get great coaching and they're going to have good facilities. And I think that will help us with the development squad. It's going to help us with 1 or 2 additions to the first team squad as well.
See, I was going to finish by asking whether the pandemic, your sort of prolonged absence from Admirals Park, might have dampened yours and Missy's enthusiasm for the place. The way you speak with such passion, you seem as excited as any supporter that might be coming back here. You must be so thrilled for the future now.
I could not be happier about our prospects. Look, not being able to come here for a year has been very hard. But Missy and I kind of weigh it with the grief that people find when they don't have jobs. I mean, our situation has been good economically. We've survived it and gotten through it. What's gone on with the club? The club's in the finest shape it's ever been in economically because of the support of the fans, because we've made some prudent measures and the like. But our problems are minuscule. My chief financial officer, my chief operating officer, my nephew, has been away from his family virtually for a year and a half. We finally had to ask him to go home for a while. And he needed to go home, and he wanted to go home because he missed his family so much. But those are the things that really come into it. But to be able to get back to normal, whatever normal turns out to be, that's wildly exciting. To get back to normal with a club that has really grown into our heart means a lot. To be able to show that the Wycombe way, the Couhig way is kind of cool way, excites me.